You're listening to the Eat 'em Up Pod, your home for Detroit Tigers opinions, discussion, nonsense, and more. Now, here are your hosts, Jordan Hall and Alex Urban.
Welcome to Eat 'em Up. I'm Jordan Hall, joined as always by the tailgate king of Detroit. It's Alex Urban. Alex, we're going on the road, and we're seeing a new ballpark.
I cannot wait, Jordan. We are going to catch the Tigers at Wrigley Field against the Cubs on Wednesday, July 22nd. It is an evening game. It is a national broadcast. And I am just so stoked to see you, see Whitney, see the beautiful city of Chicago, and knock off another park off my list. I think you've been to Wrigley before, though. Am I wrong?
So I've been there at least twice, but once was in college. And when you're in college, it's so long ago at this point, I feel like it's hardly the same life. And the other time was during COVID. So I feel like I've never actually been and really experienced the whole thing in my adult life. So it's not going to be exactly brand fresh, but it'll be fairly close. And obviously never been there with you. So that'll be cool. Also, I don't know. There's something cool about seeing the boys in a different park. I don't know exactly what it is about that, but seeing your team in kind of a different light, I don't know. It's cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, me too. And you get to see me as an away fan, which you've heard so much about.
Gonna get us kicked out of the section. Are you gonna bring a sign? Do you have any Cubs specific signs in mind?
I may have something up my sleeve, stewing on a couple different. I got some irons in the fire, as it were.
You got to figure out who's going to be the right fielder because we're down the first base line.
Yeah,
so you've got to have something specific for whoever's in right field. I don't off the top of my head know who the right fielder is for the Cubs, but
it's going to be so great. And I do want to hear from the listeners. You and I are arriving in the city at a couple different times. I'm going to be leaving my house quite early in the morning. I'm debating doing the tour of Wrigley, but it's $50, and I think that is quite pricey for just a tour of a stadium. When I did the tour of Wrigley, I think it was $18, and I thought it was, I hate to say anything nice about Boston, but it was actually a very well done tour. But $50 is pretty steep just for, I'm hopefully you get to see the clubhouses and everything, but let me know, listeners that have done this before. Is the tour worth the $50, or should I just go to Wrigleyville and pop in and out of places and check out the ambiance? I'd love to know because I am debating that right now.
So it's $38 more at Wrigley than Fenway? That's crazy. Surely it's a very similar tour. They were built at basically the same time. It feels like it should be the same amount.
You'd think so. And, albeit at Fenway, we didn't get to go inside the clubhouses. It was really kind of just a tour of anywhere that you get to walk around during the game. So maybe you get to see a little bit more at Wrigley. But yeah, I thought $50 was very steep, especially when they're doing 4 or 5 different tours in a day. They're raking it in. But I guess being one of the most iconic ballparks, they can get away with that kind of thing.
All I ever hear from my Cubs fans is how poor the Cubs are. Maybe this is a chance to try to sign somebody in free agency. I don't know. Have you ever toured Comerica?
I did. Yeah, I did when I was younger on a middle school trip. So it's been that long.
Trip. Dang, I want to go on that when I was a kid.
I mean, being in the backyard of Comerica Park. But yeah, no, I did get to see the visitors dugout. I used to do Tiger Fest. Do you remember Tiger Fest?
Is that where they would have all the guys in the what do you call it? Not corridors, concourse, and you just kind of roll through?
Yeah. It was always in January, so it was freezing. I went with a buddy of mine named Shane Kurza one year when it was actually a balmy 50 degrees. But yeah, you got it. They had autographs and different things that you could do, and that's when they had the winter caravan where the team would go around in a bus. They don't do this anymore. But one really quick story is we were waiting in line for an autograph from one Miguel Cabrera, and we were probably in line for a solid 45 minutes. And then every certain maybe hour or so, they switch out who is giving the autographs at that particular location. And Miguel Cabrera was switched out for none other than Brad Ausmus.
Yikes. That sucks.
Deflating, to say the least. Even at the time, Jordan. Not great. Still have that picture somewhere.
Maybe for the ladies in attendance, but man, that's a bummer.
Yeah. Yep. Not my finest moment. Not his finest moment. Just, not great overall.
We should tour Comerica at some points. The crappy thing is I feel like a lot of the parks don't usually do the good tours on the same day that the team is in town, and well, I mean, you being local, it's one thing, but like probably not going to Detroit if the boys aren't in town. So, but it'd be fun. I've never actually like been on the, I don't know, the clubhouse or the press box or wherever you go. I'd quite like to.
Next time you're in town, I think we should do it. Add it to the
Yeah,
list, Jordan.
let's do it. Yeah, we have quite the list of things that we're going to do together. This one actually seems doable, though. It's in Detroit. I feel like we can actually make that one happen. But we should do it.
Quick slice at Moods, quick ballpark tour will be great.
Now we're talking. That's a trip. Yeah, I'm in. I'm in. You ready to talk some ball?
Let's talk ball, Jordan.
I don't know if you've noticed this, Alex, but the Tigers kind of just keep on not dying. It's kind of basically all we've kind of been hoping for. But they just kind of keep ticking along. I was thinking about it over this past week. On the show last week, I made some sort of reference to if you're going to if you're going to do something extraordinary, like overhaul the big leads that we've coughed up in both the division and the wild card, you have to start doing something extraordinary. And I think taking 5 of 6 on the road from 2 playoff teams is kind of a nice start for that, especially when you end up with 2 more series and the break. Like this could be a massive, massive momentum, fortnight, if you will, leading into the All-Star break if they can keep this going. But 5 of 6 from the Yanks and the Rangers, nothing to kick on there.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Jordan. I mean, if we're being serious about them actually making a run, still 10 games under 500 or whatever it is, they're going to have to do something spectacular. They're going to have to get hot, and they're going to have to stay hot. And that was pretty much anything that we can ask for. When we do our predictions on this show, it has been a long time since we've predicted a 5-1 record, especially on a road trip. Doesn't matter who they're playing or where they're playing. That is impressive. It was in the Bronx. We know the Yankees are beat up, but the Tigers were beat up when they were getting their, stuff shoved in a locker in the month of May. I know the Rangers are first place in the West, and I know they're missing some pieces too, but goodness gracious, Jordan, they're playing good baseball right now, and I love to see it. I know they're playing good baseball tonight, and things are getting interesting, to say the least, but you're absolutely right. Things like this have to happen and have to continue for things to get really interesting and for them to make the true kind of a run, but it's happening right before our eyes, at least in this small sample size.
Yeah, definitely. I was on ESPN today, and there was I don't know, the top 100 trade targets at the deadline. Obviously, Scooble is number 1. And then number 6 or whatever was Casey Mize. And one of the teams that was like a potential trade target was the A's. I'm like, if we win tonight, we are tied with the A's. Obviously, they have a much easier path in the division. I think they're only like a game or 2 back of the Mariners and the Rangers. But for as dead and buried as they were, there's a little bit of juice, and yeah, it's just a matter of sustaining it. But before we look ahead, let's talk a little bit about this 6 games. We recorded kind of in the middle of it, so we'll just kind of take them broadly. But to me, it kind of seemed like they did a little bit of everything over the course of these last 2 series. They faced a good lefty in Ryan Weathers. They punished him. They faced a unbelievable righty in Cam Schlittler. They punished him. They got torched in game 1 of the Texas series. They came back from that. They hit a bunch of home runs. They played some really good defense, which obviously we are not a defense podcast. That's for dorks and nerds. But they played a really good defensive game over the last couple weeks. And only 1 blown save, and I would argue very few runs given up by the bullpen in meaningful situations. Not that they didn't give up runs, but in meaningful situations over the last week, it has looked better than we lamented before. It was kind of a complete effort from every aspect for 2 full series.
That's the exact word I was thinking, Jordan. Complete. This is the first time in a long time they've played complete baseball. They're playing team baseball. They're picking each other up. They're not. It looks like they have a plan for once at the plate. They're playing good defense when they need to. They're getting great pitching when they need to. It was fantastic. And the one game that they dropped in Texas, I know, I'm not going to make excuses, but there was a lot of seeing eye singles from the Rangers in that one too. And it wasn't Framber's best night, but
No.
I love that the way they're playing right now. I think they have a little bit of their swagger back. I think they have a little bit of their confidence back. And we've said it all season. They weren't going to be as bad as they showed previously. It's just not how things work in baseball. It's not how the law of averages work. And they're starting to beat up on some good pitching. Like I mentioned before, the Yankees are missing some really serious names on the offensive side of the ball. But they faced some really good pitching in the Bronx, Jordan, and they had some laughers. And I think they shut up that crowd real quick throughout the entirety of that series, and they look good doing it. But one name that you mentioned, Jordan, that I have been so impressed with, and I think deserves all the flowers in the world. Actually, two guys, but I'm starting. Casey Mize. I was talking about it with someone earlier, Jordan. He is paying off their investment and the time in him, and he's looking like a number one overall pick for the first time in his career. He's having a career season. He's, in my opinion, one of the best pitchers in the American League right now, and I can't say enough about him. And I know we're going to talk about this other guy later, but Keider Montero, Jordan. Oh my God, be still my heart. He's just got my juices flowing. But yeah, take it away.
Yeah.
Tell me what you're seeing, you're feeling.
Oh no, I want to stay on Casey. So I was looking on Fangraphs this morning, as I basically do every morning because I'm a dork. But he is currently 19th in the in baseball among pitchers in WAR. If you think about it, there are 30 teams. So, in my opinion, the top 30 pitchers in terms of WAR are aces. He is middle of the pack as far as aces go this year. And as everyone knows, WAR is a counting stat, and he's missed probably 2 or 3 starts that he could have had. You're right. I think you hit the nail right on the head. He is pitching like that first overall pick that we have yet to see. And I was doing a little bit of research on him too. If you take out the 2 starts between his IL stints, when it kind of looked like he was still working through something, he's given up 3 earned runs or more in a start once all year. It is just the model of consistency. And I would say I have largely given up hope of any chance of re-signing Tarek Skubal. The one thing I want at this point, I want them to re-sign Mize. I want him to spend the next 5 years in a Tigers uniform. I'm convinced. I think you mentioned this on the show last week. There's actually not as many bullets out of that gun as you would think for somebody at 29 or whatever, because of how much time he missed, both through the system and in a Tigers uniform. I can see why you would say that that's a cause for concern, but I'll take the glass half full. Less wear and tear on the arm. But yeah, I just think that he means more to us than he would on the open free agency market. And I would love them to do it in the course of the season, but I don't really care when it gets done. But my number one thing right now is extend Casey Mize. Keep him in the fold. I'm all in on that.
I think it's not crazy to say some of his best pitching could still be in front of him.
Yeah.
Jordan. And
yeah, I mean, we've never seen him at this level. I would say for any amount of time, let alone the course of the full season that he's gone through so far. You know what I mean? Like, I think we're seeing a peak that he's sustaining that's higher than any peak we'd seen before.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And he's past the Tommy John. Hopefully he's past some of the other injuries. I know you could say he's injury prone. He's been on the injured list already twice this year, but when he's been able to stay off, and they have been short stints, he's been spectacular. So I've been riding that train, thumping for them to extend Mize. It probably won't happen during the season, but yeah, he's definitely a guy that you want to keep around. And everything that we know and that we've read online is that he's a good clubhouse presence, and he's also a perfectionist. Like, he's not a, thumping his chest leader, but he goes out and he's trying to improve himself all the time. Nothing is ever good enough for this guy. He wants to constantly tweak his pitches. He wants to constantly tweak the things that he's working on and try to be the best version of himself that he can. And he's a really level-headed guy. So he's the kind of guy that you want to build on and keep around. He's not a spring chicken by any means, but if they were to extend him for 4 or 5 years, I would be applaud the move, to say the least.
Yeah, and also, like, his velocity has ticked up this year, but he's not necessarily a guy that, like, absolutely requires to throw 98. You know what I mean? Like, he is a little bit more of a well-rounded arsenal, quote Jim Price. But like I'm not necessarily worried about how his velocity ages, and also just in general on the injury prone thing. Like if we're trying to find a non-injury risk in the free agent starting pitching market, we're just not going to sign anyone. Like it's 2026 and pitchers get hurt. Like that is just the where we're at. So, yeah, let's keep Casey in the fold. I'm very glad you brought him up. Let's talk Keider. Let's get into that because as you know, I've spent my entire life searching for an Alexia Gondo. Feels like we might have finally found one. It's a very specific niche reference that I feel like people of our age hopefully understand. But I don't know. Maybe he's the savior out there.
He is every opportunity and position that they put him in, he has succeeded and paid off for them. I mean, this is a guy that I think most people cast away as just kind of a fringe major leaguer, and then he just continues to come up in big spots. And whether he's a starter, whether he's a bullpen piece, whether he's closing games, he has been so important for this quick turnaround, Jordan. He's got, his numbers are just continuing to get better as the season goes on. His last 30 games, he's got a 3.21 ERA. His last 15, a 3.18 ERA. His last 7 games, Jordan, he's got a 2.27 ERA with a 0.92 WHIP. I mean, this kid is just continuing to blossom before our eyes. And in a time when the bullpen has just been a train wreck, honestly, throughout the entire of the season, a little bit of stabilization in the back end is so needed. And I know there's been a lot of consternation about should he be a starter, should he be a bullpen piece. I think in the here and now, with the way the starters are throwing, he is such a weapon for AJ to Hinch to be able to go to. And honestly, we talked last week, Jordan, about who can Hinch go to in a moment where you need outs. He is emerging at that guy as it stands. Is he going to be perfect? No, he's like any other pitcher, and he doesn't come from a pedigree where he's able to throw 100, and he's not going to be that lockdown closer. But in the here and now, he's exactly what they need, and a breath of fresh air, if I could say so.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like I'm sure it's a little bit of a case of recency bias, but the last couple times out of the bullpen, and then in the final game against Seattle in the playoffs last year when he pitched out of the bullpen, he just is nails. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't ever seem afraid. He's going to do his little cross leg kick, and he's going to throw his stuff. And whether that's the 8th or 9th inning of a big game or the 1st or 2nd inning of a game in Baltimore, like I feel like he's kind of the same guy. And considering the state out there, a little level-headed and just status, like that is a massive breakthrough. And it sounds like he might be getting a buddy in Jackson Joe before too awfully long. He made his first rehab appearance tonight in Lakeland. Adding both of those arms out there would be electric.
Ooh, yeah, Jordan. And I saw that Jackson Jobe on his short rehab assignment tonight, I think he only had maybe 1 or 2 innings pitched, but his first pitch of his rehab start, 100.2 miles an hour on the gun.
Yeah. Oh boy, gonna need to calm ourselves down. We're gonna get carried away before he makes it back. I can feel it already.
And velocity isn't everything either, right? Like everything I understand, and you understand pitches a lot better than I do, and the people in the industry. But it's somewhat of a flat fastball, and major leaguers can hit that fast of a pitch, but you can't teach velocity. So I look like this kid, a little bit of molding clay, and you can teach movement. And I think him coming back from the injury and being able to throw heat like that this early is incredibly encouraging. He's going to have a long rehab assignment. I've seen people asking when he's going to be up with the big club already. I mean, he hasn't pitched in 15 months. He didn't have any kind of spring training. This is going to be a lengthy time that he's in the minors. But I think we are going to see him this year, Jordan. And yeah, he is going to be a demon whenever he gets here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just going to be a matter of if it's still relevant when it happens. Ideally, that would still be the case. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I would be surprised if we saw him before the deadline, if not maybe a couple weeks after that. But yeah, I mean, like you say, it is. I feel like it's been pretty universally declared a fairly flat fastball, and I will fully admit, like it's been a hot minute since we've watched him. But I recall the other stuff developing. Like he's always had a nice changeup, and there's other pitches to go with it. He was starting to become more of a pitcher than a thrower as he came down with the injury last year. I also think that like I don't know. There's something to be said for like the actual doing of pitching, but so much of pitching is mental, and hopefully he's taken the opportunity to kind of refine himself in his approach and in all of the mental side of the game, because that's something that he could have been learning through all of this. Because drafted him as a high schooler, he came up young. It's not exactly like he was schooled slowly along the way. Like maybe this can be a little bit of a mental reset and just helping him to find kind of that dog in him for when he comes back. But I guess there's only one way to find out, and I don't know. Like you say, I'd rather have 100 in my back pocket and then figure out the rest of the stuff than vice versa.
Totally, totally. And not to belabor this point, Jordan, but I know, and I still see it, people are saying the Tigers are going to need to go into a rebuild if they do trade Skubal and Mize. But Job is a solid piece, at least we believe, of this core. And you have some incredibly solid players to build off of as early as next year. Kevin McGonigal, Dylan Dingler, Riley Greene, Troy Melton, Jackson Job, Keider Montero, if you want to throw him in there. Like, there's some high-level pieces. And some of those guys are already among the elite in all of baseball. I mean, Dingler has twice as much WAR as the next catcher, Shayla Angelier. But I'm excited about the future of this club, Jordan. And that's not even taking into account the Max Clark, the Jose Briseño, or the Bryce Rainers of the world. So, as tough as it can be, if it comes down to it, if they trade these guys at the deadline, if they're out of it, I think we're in for some good baseball in the next couple of years, and that's encouraging to me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can't do the rebuild discussion again. I'm so against it and so frustrated by it. But yeah, this is not a team that needs a rebuild. This is a team that simply needs a little bit better luck and some slight retooling, and we go again next year. And that's not to count out this year, but some slight rejigging, and next year looks really, really promising, even though some of the other teams are improving too.
Indeed. And definitely not throwing out this year. We pulled back a couple in the division, the wild card in the 2026 season, Jordan. Is it sustainable with 72 games to go? I asked the question to you.
I mean, that's the question. Yeah, I don't see why not. For me, sustainability starts with starting pitching. You need somebody that's going to pitch the bulk of the innings most nights that gives you a fighting chance. And right now, I'm not sure there's a rotation that I would be more excited to watch every single night. So these are some stats from June 1. Flaherty, since June 1. Flaherty, 1.90 ERA, 28 Ks in 23 and 2/3 innings pitched. Legitimately one of the best pitchers in baseball. Did not see that coming. Do I think that in any given start, something will tweak and Jack will go back to being the Jack that we think? I do. I think there's a pretty strong possibility of that. I hope that does not happen, but that is definitely in the range of outcomes. Melton, since June 1, 2.30 ERA, 17 hits in 31 1/3 innings. There are some underlying numbers that suggest maybe some regression from him, but I mean, it's hard to argue with those results. We mentioned everything with Casey Mize. Skubal's been a little up and down, but his xFIP is 2.39, which is incredibly low. He will be just fine, and he struck out everybody tonight. It's still a little bit of a work in progress with him, but it's fine. And I put this to you, as bad as it feels like it's been for Fromber, his ERA since June 1 is 4.09. It hasn't been that bad. It obviously isn't the money we're paying him or ace status, but you can live with a couple guys in your rotation with a 4 ERA. And the starting pitching ERA since June 1 is the best in baseball. For me, that's where sustainability starts. That is the main reason that I think, I don't know that I think it's the most likely outcome, but it's certainly an outcome that can happen to overcome these deficits. Because every night out, you have a starting pitcher that gives you a decent chance to win.
Yeah, I think yes, Jordan. The starting pitching is going to lead the way, and they have three guys in that rotation that I am incredibly confident in that they can continue at least their current clip, if not even get better. Skubal, Mize, and Melton. I have all maybe it's fool's gold with Melton because he's such a young guy and the league is still kind of figuring him out. But I have a confidence in him every time he takes the ball. And then, Jackal and Hyde, Jack Flaherty, who knows what we're going to get. But yeah, he has looked better, and we know that he can be this kind of pitcher in spurts. We mentioned it earlier. And he is pitching himself into being a trade piece or a piece that they're going to run with moving forward. And then Framber Valdez, I have been in his support corner the entire season, and I think the best is yet to come this season for Framber. He hasn't looked right to me yet, but I think he's going to be the pitcher that they signed in the long run. So for me, it really comes down to the bullpen, and which is kind of beating a dead horse on this show, but if they are going to make any kind of a run, Jordan, they're going to have to get more Keider Montero performances. The big Wagyu is going to have to keep doing his thing. They're going to have to, in my opinion, jettison Kenley Jansen sooner than later. But tell me a little bit about the bullpen because you got some interesting stats here.
Yeah, ideally Drew Anderson would stop coughing up home runs. Yeah, I mean, there's several things that we could ask for the bullpen. So I'll just take you through Jordan's stream of consciousness as I was prepping for this episode at 7 this morning, whatever time it was. All right, so I'm like, all right, it feels like the bullpen has been really bad. But I'm like, all right, let's look at bullpen ERA since 2 weeks ago, and then June 1. The bullpen ERA since June 1 is 3.48. That number absolutely blew my mind because if you told me it was 10, I'd have been like, yeah, that sounds about right. It's been 4.78 over the last 2 weeks, which that is a little bit more of like what's on my mind, but still middle of the pack, strikeout per 9, and top third in whip, which makes me think, are we overreacting a little bit? Like my eyes tell me this is a bloodbath and I'm scared every time they go to the bullpen. But like maybe it's not that bad. And yet, at my lunch hour, I was reading this article by Dave Schoenfield on ESPN, and this is a direct quote. He says, "Let's talk about the bullpen. Detroit's bullpen is 14th in ERA, but 30th, which there's 30 teams, in win probability added. The Tigers are 2-6 in extra inning games and 9-16 in one-runs games, which is why they're 40-50 entering the week despite a positive run differential." And this is the part that just blew my mind. They're on pace for a minus 8.84 win probability added, which would be the third worst total of any bullpen since 2000, ahead of only the 2024 White Sox and 2021 Nationals, which are the White Sox was obviously the worst AL team ever. That is catastrophically bad.
Yes.
So anyway, that's the bullpen.
I mean, this is shocking, Jordan. I like when you said you could have said it was a 10 ERA, it would have been like, yep, that sounds right. That's what we're seeing every single night. But maybe it isn't as bad. And maybe there's a couple gas can performances that hide some. Here's the thing, too. Like, if a bullpen is just doing their job and maybe giving up a couple hits but not completely melting down, I feel like they're just a blip in all of our minds. Like it's not something
Yes.
that we pay attention to. We pay attention to the starting pitcher because we see a lot of them, and then we pay attention to the offense because, a lot of times they're going to live or die by that. But if the bullpen is just quietly doing their job, maybe in a blowout they're giving up a couple runs, or maybe, if in a close game, like I said, you give up a couple hits and you're frustrated, but they're not giving up the runs. I think that's where we can kind of just go on autopilot and not pay attention to things that are actually happening. And there are some guys in this bullpen that have better numbers than we think and aren't as lopsided as they have in the past. So I think bad luck has a little bit to do with it. I think some playing down to their ability has something to do with it. But if they can get a few of these guys going, and I don't know how many times I have to say that on the show, then I will be much more of a believer.
I mean, truly, that is legitimately what it all comes down to. And they have some people like Emmanuel De Jesus was pitching well before he was sent down. I saw Brant Herter is throwing again, as is Birch Smith, which, I mean, let's not kid ourselves and say Birch Smith is going to come back and save the bullpen, but there are some arms that are available, and obviously if we do add Jackson Jobe down the stretch, but I mean that is, we will go as far as the bullpen lets us, and I don't. Maybe it's just the case that we're going to have a 6-run lead by the time we go to the bullpen every night if we want to win. That'll be tough sledding, but I mean, it's kind of the approach they've taken a decent amount of times recently, which I don't hate.
Who's one name in the bullpen that you think is really going to turn around and have a strong second half?
That's tough. um, I don't know. I would say the big Wagyu is probably the closest, but I don't know there's anyone that I'm like. Honestly, it's probably your boy. I don't think Kenley Jansen can keep being this bad. I kind of hope he doesn't have the chance to prove me right there, but I would say that of all of the guys out there, I would say he probably screams the most positive regression to me. But I mean, it's an incredibly low bar. Do you have anyone in mind? Hopefully, you have someone in mind.
I think your boy Drew Anderson starts to give up less home runs because I don't know if
Be a
he can
good
give up
start.
more. And I also have been intrigued lately, and this is someone that I had no faith in, and was surprised up until very recently that he's still on the team. Drew Summers, Jordan,
Yeah.
intriguing me a little bit. Big lefty, comes in a pinch. But if some of those guys can continue to build on some of their more recent performances, I, I'm intrigued. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I like some the guy on the Sunday game. I think it was the Rangers play-by-play called him an uncomfortable at bat. I thought that was an interesting description. Like, he doesn't really wow you. The stuff is, I think, interesting, but it's not like amazing. But he does make, especially lefties, it does make them look uncomfortable up there. Which, as opposed to some of the other guys, sure, we'll take it. Yeah.
We will take it. Talk to me a little bit about Riley Greene, Jordan. He's going on a little bit of a little more than a hot streak, a legendary week you have here.
Yeah. So since the last time we recorded, he is hitting approximately 400 and an OPS of almost 1600, which is pretty good. 4 homers, 10 ribs. He almost hit for the cycle on Sunday. Real scared move to put him on in I think it was the ninth. Or, I don't know, whatever. No, I think he didn't get another one in the ninth. And I think it must have been like the seventh. Let the man hit. He's trying to hit for the cycle. The game was already gone at that point. But kind of the bigger point I want to get to is we spent a lot of the offseason wondering what version of Riley Greene were we going to get in 2026. We had seen the kind of high average good hitter in 2024. We saw the guy that hit 36 stingers, I want to say, in 2025 and set the club record for strikeouts. I was pretty convinced that we didn't know what he was, and that the actual center where he lands was still somewhere else. And I think that this year is kind of what we were all hoping and dreaming of. So last year, 2.2 WAR on the entire season. He's at 2.1 already. His OPS is the highest of his career while also destroying career highs for average and on base. And maybe even more than that. He's hitting 247 with a 768 OPS against lefties. He's sacrificed a little bit of the homer power, but there's kind of no knock on him this year. He's just turned into basically the complete all-around slugger.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. And he had to have a season like this for me to have a lot of faith in him moving forward. I still don't know if this is a guy they're going to invest in long term, but I will take this Riley Greene over last year's Riley Greene
Easy.
every day of the week. Easy. And I think if he can continue to build on this kind of a player, he's going to continue to be a consecutive year All-Star. This is his third All-Star year performance. It's the first Tiger since Al Kaline to have three consecutive, or excuse me,
Decent company.
outfielders, Tigers outfielders have three consecutive All-Star nods. And I think it's incredibly exciting. The only knockout I have on him is that he doesn't hit well with runners in scoring position. But no player is perfect. And I think he is a great player. I don't know if he's going to be ever a superstar, but I'm never going to poo-poo great players, Jordan. And, seems like a good teammate. I know the defense is, you can look at the numbers and whatever the spreadsheet will tell you, but he's a reliable left fielder at least. And yeah, he's a middle order of the bat. See, middle order of the bat on a World Series contending team, it's yet to be seen. But in the here and now, he is what the Tigers need, and he's a fearsome bet in this lineup for other teams for sure.
Definitely. And I kind of agree on the whole defense thing. That being said, he makes a lot of like spirit raising catches. Like he could obviously get to more balls. He could get better jumps and all that kind of stuff. But there's something to be said for looking awesome while you make a big catch that nobody else thought you were going to make, and what that does for the rest of the team. I don't know. Like maybe it's not a big deal for professional athletes as it is for us watching, but like, I don't know. If I'm on the mound and he does that, I'm throwing the ball 2 miles an hour harder the next pitch. You know what I mean? Like I refuse to believe that there's not some sort of psychological benefit, even if these guys are the top of the world pros. What I will say to you, Alex, all right, we've obviously made much fun of his running gait. He runs and honestly kind of looks like an old man. If you took the gate out and just looked at his sprint speeds and you ignored the eyebrows and all that, I feel like there is far less tarnish on the I want to lock him up for a long time train. You know what I mean? I feel like there are some aesthetic issues that I see in him that give me a little bit of pause. Whereas if you were to solely look at the data, I'm a little less concerned. I don't know. I think that's kind of just a pet theory I have.
I think you're onto something there because whenever I think of like extending Riley Greene, the immediate thought is the health. It's like he's not a guy that I think you can count on to age gracefully, but maybe that's just because he runs kind of funny, and maybe that's just very ignorant of me. So I'm right there with you. It kind of Go ahead. No.
What if he's already aged? What if he already hit the 35 plateau and he's already there, and now we're just seeing how he continues indefinitely?
I mean, if that is the case, lock this boy up long term, because I'm way into it. Maybe he can, there's going to be no signs of aging between now and 35 years old, if that's what you're saying, which would be really cool. And then when he turns 36, he might as well be 100. But yes. Yeah. Let's see it, at least for the next couple of years. I think he's not a free agent until 2029. So I'll say this. If he can continue what he's doing now for next season in 2028, absolutely lock this kid up, give him the big contract, let him be a face of the franchise, and let him continue to hit for you and hit well. Because you know what I really appreciate about this team, even though they're not in first place right now, Jordan, they have so much homegrown talent in a system that has been lacking it for so long. And they have finally hit on a lot of these guys between him, Dingler, McGonigal. We know the pitchers. There's just a lot to like. And as much as people are going to scream about it, that has a lot to do with Scott Harris and Ryan Garco.
Yeah.
I know, and I know they were Avila picks. Don't scream at me. But somebody's got to develop these guys.
Somebody has to develop these guys. Yeah. Speaking of the homegrown guys, 3 homegrown guys in the All-Star game. I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would bet it's been a very, very long time since we've done that. That being said, we probably did that last year. So maybe it hasn't been quite as long. But I mean, so we had Skubal, Casey, and Riley last year. So yeah, it hasn't been that long. It's been approximately 1 year, but still, it's good.
Position players, though, it's been.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I said I don't want to do this again, but I'm going to get into it. By FWAR, Dingler is number 7 in baseball, McGonigal is number 9, and Riley is number 48. That is an elite trio of position players. And a lot of teams with an elite trio that are all under 27, 28, whatever, they don't need to rebuild. They need to retool. I said I don't want to get into that, but I feel very, very strongly about that. But yeah, we got 3 All-Stars. I suspect we'll get a couple more. I think Casey ends up there, maybe Skubal too, just on name recognition.
You can't have it all, Jordan. But you know what? I will never stop thinking about, like, what if Spencer Torkelson turned out to be Nick Kurtz, or
Yeah.
like if he, like, they just needed to hit on him, and then you'd be really cooking with this core. But I'm not gonna. You get greedy here. I think the three that they have, we're very lucky to have them in Detroit, and I'm so glad that McGonigal is locked up long term, because that is just looking like, honestly, they saved themselves a lot of money in the long term. I mean, he's the first Tigers rookie to make the All-Star game since I think like the 70s. I saw on the graphic tonight. It's just absurd.
Yeah. I mean, I'd wanted to do like a mid-season evaluation, like biggest surprises, and it's hard to think of a surprise bigger than him not only holding his own as a rookie but being a top 10 player in the game. Like, that was not in my range of outcomes for his season, and yet here we are.
Indeed, Jordan. Real quick, the Tigers have a new third base coach. Did you see this?
I did. What do you make of it? I'll kind of lay out I mean, I'm sure everyone's read it, but essentially it seems like there's been a casual and courteous disagreement in philosophy between AJ Hinch and Joey Cora, and he's left. What was your initial reaction? Have you been able to make heads or tails of it?
Without diving too much into it, the way that AJ presented it, and he's very good with the media and very good with words, but I do think it was not something contentious. I think maybe it just conversations boiled over from the entirety of the season. I mean, we've talked about it before. I think as much as we poke fun at Joey Cora, the aggressive base running has stolen them a lot of runs. You got to make the other team make a play, right? And a lot of times they don't, or there's an errant throw, or, the guy just gets in under the tag or something like that. But there's also been some very comical sends where, any person who follows any level of baseball would tell you that's silly and you're running into an out. If I had to guess, I think AJ probably went to him and said, hey, like, we cannot continue to have this. And it was, like you said, a disagreement in philosophy, and that's what he said in the press conference today. My take on the situation is it was not contentious. It wasn't some big blow-up argument. It was just, maybe it was time to get someone new. And Joey Cora is an older guy. I don't know how old he is right in front of me, but, maybe he wants to just go spend more time with his family, or maybe he's looking forward to the next managerial gig and to work with his brother Alex. But I am going to give everyone in the situation the benefit of the doubt that this was, a mutual parting of the ways. They shook hands and they just did it. So how about you?
Yeah, I think that's pretty close to exactly what I think. He didn't say that there was a specific incident, and I believe him. I don't think that there was a specific incident, but just like you said, he has run some guys into some extremely obvious outs. And I'm not surprised that he's gone. I'm maybe a little surprised it didn't happen over the All-Star break. That kind of feels like a natural break point, but I don't think anybody is massively disappointed or really blindsided by this. I don't know, staffs evolve. I don't think it needs to be anything personal. I think it's just in everyone's best interest to go a different way. Also, I looked it up. He is... Guess how old he is? I feel like the number is far lower than I would have guessed.
66.
He's 61. If you'd have told me 72, I'd have been like, okay, yeah, I buy that.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking 70s, but
I think it's the sunglasses. He's kind of got old guy sunglasses. I think that's what belies his age.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're onto something there. It's more the look than anything else. But good luck to him. No ill will or anything like that. And I think the Tigers will run into less outs moving forward. Don't even know who they set up as the new third base coach. I saw the name earlier, didn't know who it was. But we'll see.
Yeah, I feel pretty confident in saying you're right. I think they will run into less obvious outs. And I do think there's a chance we see it on the base paths in terms of not being a little less aggressive, but just a little less pushing of the envelope. And it would just remains to be seen what the net benefit is. Or
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Jordan, do you have a Tiger King crown to give away for this week?
I do, and I kind of emptied the clip and all the stats earlier, but Riley Greene gets it for me this week. Just an absolute show he put on for the better part of two full series. So, yeah, Riley really lighting it up.
Love your choice. Mine is Casey Mize for everything I mentioned earlier, so we don't have to belabor it this week. Kevin McGonigal is now tied with your boy Riley Greene with 3 crowns on the year. Keider Montero, Dylan Dingler, How You Lee, Ty Madden with 2, and then a number of other cast of characters, including Connor Siebold and listener Travis with 1 crown.
R.I.P.
So
Sweet Prince.
it's anyone's game. Anyone's game. Weekly preview time, Jordan. They are winning 6-2 against the Athletics tonight in the 8th inning. So let's take a look at tomorrow's game, Thursday's game, and then 3 with the Phillies. So the next 5, what is your record prediction?
I'm going 4-1. I think they sweep the A's. It feels like a very big. The A's are one of the teams that are directly ahead of us in the wild card. I would imagine that probably hones the boys in. Not that I necessarily think they need that, but like I think it hones them in a way that playing a team like, I don't know, the Phillies doesn't. That being said, the Phillies are in a little bit of a rough run. Obviously, they still have some dangerous players, some really good pitching. It'll be a fun series. Kind of be a good measuring stick as far as like how far have we actually come. And I'm curious to see it because eventually you can't. I mean, I was gonna say you can't keep playing bums, but every team we've played for a month now has been ahead of us in the standings, so I guess we're the bums. But yeah, you can't keep hiding behind not playing not as great teams. But yeah, give me 4-1. Let's cook a little bit. How about you?
4-1. Stay hot.
Let's go.
Not gonna win them all, but yeah, keep the good vibes rolling. I like the way they're playing right now, and I think 4-1 is definitely the sweet spot. Sweep the A's and then take 2 or 3 against the Phils. Love to see it.
Yeah. And it's kind of nice because like I don't feel like that's an unreasonable like us optimistic pick. Like I think that is actually a fairly logical choice at this point as opposed to just wish casting, which it's been a minute.
Yeah, that is probably the most confident we've been in our weekly prediction all season.
Yeah.
You want to go down on the farm, Jordan?
Let's do it. Lead us off with some roster movement.
We barely woo suck go, traded to the Minnesota Twins for cash consideration. I had thought this was a very strange move. I tweeted from the show account that it was a head scratcher for me because, Jordan, he had a 2.60 ERA and a 0.98 whip in over 27.2 innings pitched at Toledo, giving up 0 home runs in the process. But Chris McCoskey did dunk on us a little bit. Quote tweeted us and said he exercised an upward mobility clause. The Tigers either had to move him to a team who showed interest and then rostered him, and he is on the 26-man for the Minnesota Twins, or put him on the Detroit 40-man. Similarly, the team traded right-handed pitcher Matt Seelinger to the Mets, who's like a 30-year-old kind of journeyman righty, for cash. So I don't know anything about Matt, but I would have liked to see Woosuck Go added to the 40-man roster, Jordan.
Yeah, I can think of names.
I think they liked the kid enough to take a flyer on him following his departure of Miami system. And everything that we said earlier about the niceties about the bullpens look lately, like, why not give this kid a chance? I understand he throws 92, and I think Mark Gorosh tweeted that he probably would have got eaten alive, and maybe that is the case. But again, like, if you let him go this long into the season looking the way he did, there's got to be one of these other lottery tickets that you haven't used that is on the 40. I don't know. I just think I would have liked to see it. Let's put it that way. I'm not going to yell and scream and make a huge deal out of it, but still kind of a perplexing move to me.
Yeah, I could totally agree. I will think about this 0 more times after we wrap up this episode, but there are names that I would have not had such an issue DFAing to get him on the 40-man, and we've seen Bo. Like, I love Bo. I thought that he was one of the arms that we needed to stir the drink last year. He would have been such a big addition to this bullpen, a healthy Bo Brisky. He is not there. He has been virtually unplayable. and yet he is chilling out there in our bullpen. I don't know what Woo Suk Go can do, but I'm pretty willing to give that a try over current Bo Brisky. Honestly, probably over currently your boy Kenley Jansen. And like I said, there are some names that I don't have such an issue with DFAing. But all that to be said, I don't really care.
No, yeah, and this will be my last point on it. Like, what are we doing with Yolber Diaz on the 40 that they claimed in a very similar
Name one
way?
fact for me about Yolber Diaz.
Like the name, cool name. Bo Brisky is the first name I thought of as well, Jordan. And they've got some other guys on that, like Ricky Vanasco. Have we seen everything that there is to see on Ricky? I feel like that's a little bit of a redundant. And I know he's a position player, but somehow, Jordan, our boy Jahmai Jones is still not only in the organization, he's on the big league club. So I just don't.
I'll fight you over that one. I don't care. It's my time, baby. It's my time for life.
But yeah, so that's all I'm going to say about Woo Suk Go. Good luck in Minnesota. Also traded him to a division rival above you in the standings, but neither here nor there.
If I'm not mistaken, you flagged Woo Suk Go last week as well. What odds would you have had on Woo Suk Go getting 2 mentions on this podcast in back-to-back weeks before the season? You probably got 1,000,000 to 1.
1,000,000 to 1. Would have had to call him 2 Suk Go. Talk to me a little bit about Peyton Graham, Jordan. Positivity here. Peyton Graham getting some heat at Erie.
I'm not going to pretend like I know a super ton about Peyton Graham. I know he is Emily Walden favorite, so maybe probably should be better off talking to her. But second rounder in 2022, 51st overall pick. So comes with a little bit of pedigree, but he spent a long time in West Michigan, 26 years old at this point at Erie. So a little old for prospect status. But over the last month, he's hitting .408 with a .511 on base and OPS at 1,100, 12 extra base hits, and 71 at bats. Good organizations kind of have guys like this that pop up. I don't necessarily think that it's something, but it's encouraging to me that there's guys like him at AA, Eduardo Valencia at AAA, that like there's not necessarily a ton of reason to think that stuff like this will get sustained, but there was no reason to think that Kerry Carpenter's success was going to be sustainable either until he became Kerry Bonds. Like, guys like this sometimes pop, and it's just exciting to have some of the lesser heralded guys become interesting, like John Peck, that kind of deal. In addition to the Bryceños and the Max Clarks and Max Anderson, all those guys. It's interesting. If you are a box score watcher, pay attention to our boy for the next couple of weeks. Just see what's up. And, you know, Malgiri wasn't in our plans 2 months ago either, and he's on the big league team. So,
very true. Yeah, keep an eye on Peyton Graham down at AA Erie. That's it for the farm. We had already mentioned that Jackson Jobe starts his rehab tonight in Lakeland. You want to give some listener questions, Jordan?
Yeah, let's do it.
All righty here. Just how off on Blue Sky, he says, please predict the AL Central standings at the end of the season.
Okay. This is going to pain me to no end. Guardians to win the division. White Sox. Us. Twins. Royals. Twins are kind of low-key not bad. I don't know how, but they're actually not bad. But if I were a betting man, not a gambling podcast, but if I were a betting man, that's where I'd come down. How about you?
I was gonna say the exact same thing, but I think just because the universe likes to annoy me, Guardians, Tigers fall short of the division. White Sox, Twins, and I agree with you. They're a little frisky. And then I can't believe that the wheels have completely fallen off on the Royals when they looked like they were neck and neck, a young up-and-coming team. Like, that's just a killer.
It's so weird. I think the White Sox are the best team in the division. But, I mean, we know there is just a witch's curse in Cleveland. Like, or blessing? I don't, whatever the opposite of a witch's curse would be. That is what is on Cleveland. And for that reason, I think they win the division.
Yeah. Litzner on Twitter, plain and simple, do the Tigers get back to 500 at any point this season?
Yes, definitely. I say that very confidently, and I don't know. If you were to truth serum me, I still think they get a wild card spot. But
I love it. I love it, Jordan. And finally, Andrew on Twitter, he says, give me your bold prediction. Will the Tigers be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline?
I think they're going to be a little bit of both. I think that there will be some strategic buying and some strategic selling. I don't know that I have specific guys in mind, but I could see somebody like Carpenter out and a big time reliever in, something like that. Like I haven't formulated that thought beyond, but I could see some opportunistic selling while also trying to not fade in the standings, if that makes sense. How about you?
It does. With the way they've been playing recently, Jordan, I feel like our boy Scotty is going to stand pat.
That's such a Scotty move. That's the right one. I should have gone with that. You're definitely right.
I think, maybe there's like a move on the margin where you can't necessarily say, like if they shipped out Matt Vierling, I don't, count it as being a seller. If they brought in like God, who's that? Rafael Montero from last year. I don't necessarily consider that.
Wonder what he's up to. He's probably available.
He, I believe, is in the Boston minor league system. I looked him up the other day because I'm a crazy person. But I think the way they're playing right now, they are going to ride the team that they have. And it might be similar to last season where they don't necessarily think they have the horses to get all the way, but they're not willing to punt on Skubal, Mize, and otherwise to tank the season when they are in a position to pounce. But we will know more, as we always like to say, in the next couple of weeks, for sure.
The one thing I know about the deadline is Tigers Twitter will be furious with how it ends. I don't care what happens. They will be apoplectic about whatever he does.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm going to plant my flag right now. If they end up trading Skubal, the return is not going to be nearly enough for anyone.
Yeah.
Like there's
something fun?
Okay. Yes, I do. No.
Last year, in 20 games for our Detroit Tigers, Rafael Montero had a 2.86 ERA. It's not terrible.
It's not terrible.
He'd probably be our closer at this point. We should see what he's up to.
I was so pissy last year's deadline. I promise you guys I will be less emotional. I also won't have newborn twins during this year's deadline, but I will be very less emotional during this year's deadline.
That was fired up, Alex. I liked that. That was enjoyable for me. Yeah.
I hope it was. Jordan, that is it for this week's episode. Always a pleasure. Can't wait for our trip to Wrigley. Listeners, please give us our feedback on what I need to see and do there. Anything for the good of the order before we sign off this evening?
I don't think so. Just this should be a really exciting week. I'm super looking forward to it. This is kind of go time. Well, they could say Saturday in golf tournaments is like moving day. Kind of feels like we're in moving day right now.
I just wanted to mention a friend of mine is a Guardians fan, and he had an unexpected loss in the family. So, Jordan, wanted to let you know that I'm thinking of you. We're all thinking of you, and I hope that your family's around you right now, and we're thinking of you. So, that's it for this week. Jordan, always a pleasure. Listeners, thank you for submitting your listener questions, always engaging with us online. We have a great time with you. Don't forget, if you want to submit listener feedback, we are eatemuppod@gmail.com. You want to follow along on the socials, we have a ton of fun. At eatemuppod, Jordan is at hosted by Jay Hall. I'm at aurban91. New episodes every Wednesday. We'd love if you would give us a subscribe for your favorite streaming platform. Don't forget, we are on YouTube now, so you can see our mugs as we are doing these episodes weekly. And give us a 5-star review for when you're doing that. So on behalf of Jordan Hall, I'm Alex Urban. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.